Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will be starting shortly, just waiting a couple of more minutes to give a chance to the remaining audience to join us. While we do this, I'm going to introduce my colleague who will present with me today. Today, presenting this session for you, we have Kemo Basentia, our Business Development Director for our Digital Risk Platform, and Wen Yap, our Lead Fraud Analyst. My name is Jun Laurent. I'm a Product Marketing Manager here for our Fraud Hunting Platform, and I'm very happy to welcome you to our second Fraud Hunting Day for the APAC region. As I said, we just wait a few more minutes to jump in, and then we'll get started very shortly. Okay, I think we're going to get started. So thank you everyone for joining us for the Group AB Fraud Hunting Day, Act 2 for 2022. My name is Jun Laurent. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for the Fraud Hunting Platform. And I have my colleague here, Kemo Basentia, which is our Business Development Director for our Digital Risk Protection tool that will share his expertise today to help us within phishing scam, and my colleague Wen Yap, our Lead Fraud Analyst for Group IB. So today we'll cover a couple of topics with you. First of all, we will do our traditional review of the regional scam figures for the APAC region, review what are the difference between the previous quarter, what we reviewed with you, and show you how the trend is evolving, and as always making some recommendation of where we see where the focus should be, and to really help protect the region better. And then we will do a deep dive into phishing scam, which seems to be really proliferating into the region. So with that, Wayne, could you please let us know, explain to us what we are looking at, how the things are compared to last quarter?
All right, thanks, Julian. So hi, yes, I'm Wayne. So yeah, so just let me go through a little bit more on the numbers and figures. And what you're looking at is actually the overall session statistics and comparison between the different quarters for the information we have gathered throughout our different products. And on the left, we can see that on the previous quarter, the portion of high risk sessions and ATO sessions actually, while making up a very small amount, actually is very important, because about 6.3% of these sessions are actually high risk sessions, and about 1.4% is actually potential account takeover sessions. So compared to current quarter, it is actually very fortunate to say that the percentage actually dip a little bit for high risk sessions from 6.3% to about 5%. And for potential account takeover sessions, we have dropped slightly from 1.4% to 1.2%. So actually, just a point to note, what is not shown here is actually that the percentage of session is actually greater in number in hard numbers for the current quarter. So it might be because the economy is picking up after COVID, and we have seen an increase of usage in the digital user platforms throughout all the industries, and therefore we can see that we are actually experience a slightly lesser kind of potential accounting over sessions and high risk sessions. Yes.
Oh, I see. So what you are saying is that the good news is that the percentage of sessions which are classified as high risk or potentially account takeover is lesser, but however, there is more activity online now, so it won't necessarily translate in less scam happening, just a lesser percentage. Is that what you're saying? I think that's what you are going to show us here, right?
Yes. So while we can experience a smaller percentage, compared to the overall number of sessions, if we actually do drill down in just the high risk sessions and the accounting over sessions, we can see that the number is generally still increasing. So with the accounting over in yellow all the way to the right actually have the most significant increase with almost toe to toe with sessions that are actually using remote access tools. So we can also see that the rise of malware and hosting usage is also on the rise. And yeah, with while all these sessions are high risk events, it just reiterates that account takeover might have an indication of being trending currently from previous to this current quarter.
I see. So a lower percentage, but still a higher number of takeovers are happening in the region. So it still means that we probably have more work to do. Oh yes, and I see here you're doing a comparison from a percentage point of view.
Yes. So from the user statistics percentage point of view, if we are to compare between the previous and current quarter, the people that are exhibiting are actually potentially affected by account takeover is actually unfortunately on the rise, from 22.4% in the previous quarter, rising to about 36.2% in the current quarter. However, a little bit of good news right here. The increase is not that much for users with high risk behavior that's exhibiting high risk behavior from 19.3% with a slight 1% increase to about 20.9%. So this means that we do have an increased number of victims for account takeover, and that might be something we might want to look at for this current quarter.
Yeah, it's still something that we recommend the audience to really add extra attention to countermeasures to account takeover, clearly. And
yes.
And what are we looking at here?
And for this, is actually a drill down further into what are the high risk behaviors that might be happening, some few broad categories, and also in comparison to account takeover. From here it is very obvious that account takeover is a very significant number compared to people that are doing high risk activities. This might indicate that account takeover is really rather popular in terms of scam methods, and financial institutions or even other industries should actually look at preventive and protection measures against account takeover and also any other forms that may lead to account takeover.
Yeah, yeah, I can see the only risky event that we see reducing was hosting usage. It's pretty much
Exactly.
the only one that I just which in a way can be an indicative, because hosting is usually quite a sophisticated way to try to hide certain activities. So it might be good news in a way that we've done better at preventing or detecting hosting usages in the industry overall, or that fraudsters don't even see the need to use it due to a lack of protection against other tools,
Yes.
which is quite enlightening. Okay, so how do we go about it? How do they are so successful of doing this account takeover? Is it why you choose to take us through a deep dive through the phishing scam, I presume, right? This is
Yes, yes. Yes,
okay.
why we chose phishing scams is because phishing scams is actually currently trending in the APAC region, especially in Singapore. And phishing scams usually ends, one of the objective of a phishing scam is to perform an account takeover and to do malicious or nefarious activities using phishing scam as an end-to-end project cycle. Yes. So
Okay.
and yeah. So on hindsight, after looking at the numbers, after looking at account takeover on the rise, on hindsight of phishing scam and account takeover, it really just boils down to two words: vigilance and deterrence. While it may sound cliche, but vigilance is really in a sense where organizations do have to be vigilant in the prevention of cybercrime and also keep themselves constantly updated on the developments and current trends of cybercrime revolving around their own industry. So what do I mean by deterrence? Deterrence is more, pointing towards an organization's anti-fraud system. An organization's anti-fraud system must entail protection and prevention measure enough to act as a major deterrent for fraudulent behaviors, so that fraudsters actually do think twice before trying to scout out any target organizations. So vigilance and deterrence is definitely something that we have to constantly work on to
Yes,
prevent scams from happening. Yeah.
it's really something. I'm myself currently in France at an event when we met with the Minister of Interior, which managed the police and so on. And what the authorities are often telling us is because there's not enough escalation to authorities when a scam is uncovered with enough information for them to investigate and disrupt this organization. It means that even when they're not successful, they remain unpunished, and meaning that for them it's just let's try again. So I can see how the deterrence needs to be really improved if we want to put a stop to this. Can you maybe take us through the life cycle of those scams, just to refresh the memory of the audience and probably better for my benefit, so that I can kind of understand how they work and we can maybe deep dive on how we can countermeasure them after.
Okay, so to actually go through the attack life cycle of a scam, we have to first realize that a scam is not an objective, it's more of a process, a process that is actually scalable and is actually can be methodical, where the very first step is the preparation stage, the before stage at stage 1, where the scammer actually prepare all their needs for scamming somebody else, preparing the phishing infrastructure, before everything happens. After the preparation stage is actually the stage where they will interact with the clients, using the infrastructure that they prepared. It may be in the form of weaponized SMS or emails that is sent to the victim, and then hoping to trick the victims into doing some follow-up actions onto the weaponized email or SMS. So moving on to stage 3, stage 3, we call it after because this is when the victims actually already gave up their user credentials inside the weaponized SMS or email. So in other words, the fraudsters have already obtained the user credentials. And then moving on to stage 4, achieving the objective of this scam, using the user credentials, the fraudsters can move on to actually going to do account takeovers of the victims. So this is a general life cycle of how a scam can start and end. And yes, this is generally how it happens for most scams.
Okay, so relatively, quite straightforward 4-step process, including the 5th one, which is, actually getting their hands on the money, which I'm sure we're quite happy to do. So,
Yeah.
so when I'm trying to wrap my head around this, so I presume that on a preparation stage, I can see quite a few things. Without myself being an expert analyst, I can see that they probably need to understand the institution they're planning to attack, try to understand the defenses that those institutions have in order to see what do they need to have in order to be successful. For example, if there are countermeasures such as OTP, etc., that means that when they are shopping, and this is really the term, they are shopping for tools in order to create this scam, which they have people which are, it's their job to provide them with phishing kits. It's actually a lot easier than one would believe for them to get their hands on. They will then realize, okay, because you have an OTP system, I need to have a malware in order to intercept the SMSs and so on, and preparation. So, Camo, this is your area of expertise. Tell me, how much work does it goes into this for them? Is it something that takes a month to prepare, or weeks? What are we looking at here for the preparation stages of this phishing?
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Maybe we can ask our audience, what do you think it is? It is a month? It is a year, maybe, to prepare?
Yes, it's true that it's a good question. Before we answer to that, we could maybe ask the audience what they think in terms of the delay that it will take. But I think at this stage, we'll let you think and wonder what you think there will be, and then let's carry on with the giving them the answer now.
Okay. Yes, you're right. It might take a month. It might take a week, but sometimes it is just 20 seconds to create a link and to send a link to a potential victim. Moving next, most of the above tasks can be done, for example, just as an example, using Telegram bots. Thanks to the latter, the scammers no longer need to create pages to generate phishing pages or anything else. What do they have? What do they need to do now? Is just drop a link to the bait product in the chat bot, which then generates a comprehensive phishing set, links to the courier service, links to the payment, to refund pages, to bank accounts, whatever. And the next slide shows how it is done. It is super easy. There are more than 10, 15 types of Telegram bots that create pages mimicking brands, banks, whatever. You can see it right now, yeah? For each brand and page, scammers write template scripts and instructions that help newbie scammers sign up to new platforms, and this also helps to communicate with victims in the local language. As a result, phishing pages have improved in quality and become easier to create. 20 seconds, just type in whatever you want to type and the link is ready. It is super easy to create, and scammers receive more and more support. All the above factors have caused fraud on classy feeds, phishing pages, whatever, to skyrocket. And
Hold on. Come on, let me get this straight. You are telling me that all we need here, this is like an automated process that someone has developed for the scammers, when they just answer these few questions for those automated bots, and then you will create the phishing page for them?
Yes, and this is the easiest example of creating a page to get an iPhone. And you can see the result of these actions on the next slide. This is what you get: a link to be delivered to a potential victim. Super easy, 20 seconds. You just type in whatever you want to type. Me, you, whoever can do this. And it takes 20 seconds to do that.
And because I spend a lot of time with you guys, and I think I'm a bit more scam aware than maybe the average customer out there. Even when I'm looking at the address at the top of that web page, which is normally what we tell our customers, we tell the audience, be careful, watch it. It should be obvious that it's not a legitimate site. This does not look that bad, actually. That link looks almost genuine.
Yeah, it can be trusted. Absolutely, it can be trusted, and people trust. They type in their credentials, and as a result, we've seen the statistics. Their account is taken over. And the thing is not only about the link, about the easiness of creating the link. Moving to the next slide, I can show how hard sometimes is it to detect this link and what does it mean, a personalized link. Here's an example of a personalized link. For sure, the victim will not get this particular link. It will be shortened, and we have an example for that. But imagine you get this link, This link, as we understood, is formed automatically for user after passing throughout the redirect chain. While you pass this redirect chain, different data related to your ISP, to your search query, operation system, IP, you can see in the link, related to your Windows, your telecom, your ISP, and this data is collected. You may see, as I said, all these points within the text, but what is worth mentioning, the timestamp. In this way, the link could be opened only with a combination of factors from the same place, on the same device, at the certain moment. The link works only once and only for one specific user.
For the victim, it means that even if we intercept the link, we can't really do much with it, right? Because this link is unique for the victim. So it's not like we often talk about there's a phishing site with maybe the perception that if we find that site and shut it down, it will stop the scam. But here we are talking about individual link for each victim. Do I get this right?
Yes, absolutely. Thus the scammers covered the real phishing stage from the eyes of regulators, from our eyes also. And if somebody was so lucky to catch the link and to grab a screenshot, for example, we did that, the regulators didn't take any measures due to the fact that the page was already unavailable at the moment of recheck. As I said, this link works only for, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Also, this link can work for like 5 clicks. You made 5 clicks, you made 10 clicks, and the link is shut down. So this, this led to the reduction of the detects. From our point, from the DRP point, we can see that clearly. We have like quite few difficulties during the enforcement process, and as a result, as we have increased the uptime of each link, and as a result, the number of victims is growing day by day.
It really shows that you need to have multi-layered protection with multiple angles to defeat those kind of scams, because they are relying on really sharp techniques. Wow. Okay. We learn something every day. So then I get the next stage is, how does that concretely work? So Wayne, can you explain to us this typical case study that you've seen?
Okay, so using the case study as an example to actually showcase how the delivery of a weaponized SMS and then all the way to actually phishing for the credentials can work. Let me just talk a little bit more about the OCBC, the more recent OCBC phishing scam, where, just a little bit of background for it. A total of about 13.7 million Singapore dollars were lost as of 30th Jan this year, and 790 customers were reportedly being affected by this phishing scam incident. And just some interesting bits about this phishing scam. 80% of the amount lost is actually over the year-end festive period, which is Christmas, from 23rd to 30th December last year. So in the reports, victims actually only provided online banking credentials and their OTP to the fake phishing websites, and that's it. They became victims. So for the delivery of the weaponized phishing infrastructure can be in the form of an SMS first, leading the victims to actually do something else within the SMS. For example, it can be a phishing SMS with a phishing with a fake site embedded into it, leading the victims to a fake payment site in the phishing SMS. Or, another more sadly innovative way is where the victims actually send a phishing SMS claiming that there is an upgraded version of a web Chrome browser, because it's not compatible with your digital platform right now. So, and once a victim actually click onto the link that's directing them to download that upgrade, they are not actually downloading the upgrade, but yes, the malware that's disguised as the upgrade.
Yeah. And here we can see what Camo was telling us about the link being shortened, and that link is not something, again, for people who are really really focused on those things. We might think, well, it looks a bit weird with safety XYZ, but to a normal client, I don't think this will raise alarm bells. The shorten of the link with a credible short link will be very effective.
Yes. So if you actually look to the right on the two phishing SMSs, the link on the SMSs actually to the common man will look very legitimate, OCBC safety, because your account has been temporarily locked. And when people see the word OCBC and safety, they kind of drop their guard a little while. But to the more trained eye, when we see .xyz and we see weird letters, dashes, then we will actually be like, hey, keep our guard up. But to the common man, which is most of the target victims, they do not have our type of
awareness,
knowledge. Yes, so they do get, they do get tricked into accessing this sites.
And so these two stages, the stage 2 and 3, are really happening within a very short period of time, right? But that is really once the scams start, 2 and 3 are. I think you mentioned it's a 5-minute lapse in average between the moment the scam starts and it finishes.
Yes. So from stage 2 to 3, where they infect the victim's device or obtain the user credentials, it can happen within an instant. Pump. The moment you click onto the link, that's it. Or the moment you click onto the link and input your credentials, it may not be 5 minutes, it may be even less, or potentially be like instant. So it's really 5 minutes is actually quite a good estimate of how long a scam actually needs, the duration of the scam. Yes.
And then the next stage is they have obtained the credential, and what do they do from there?
So this is the last stage of what we call a phishing scam. So in the last stage of a phishing scam, what the fraudster actually will do with your user credentials is to actually perform the account takeover. So and then again, in OCBC's case, the account takeover is to actually take what the fraudster's objective is actually to take over your digital token. So what happens when they take over your digital token? The fraudsters actually practically have full access to the victim's account. And really, if you just look on the picture, activate the OCBC one token instantly via SMS, OTP, and card PIN. These are all the information the fraudster need to fish from you to take over your digital token as a security measure. So, once this is done, a fraudster actually can do all kinds of high-risk transactions seamlessly without tripping any of the security features, because your digital token is your security feature, which is currently now in the fraudster's hands. So high-risk transactions will include adding other credit cards, making big fund transfers, even changing your online banking PIN or your credit card and spending limit stuff. So these are actually really dangerous. So yeah, we really have to keep this close to us, so that while it's easy to set up, it is also easy to be taken over. Yes.
Mostly if you overly rely on it. Again, we get to this really clear notion that in order to keep our institution safe and our customers safe, we need to have multiple vector of protection because the fraudster will use multiple vector of attack. And if you rely too much on one and they find a weakness, they will exploit it very quickly. I mean, this from what you guys are describing, this is a maximum a couple of weeks of preparation and then ruthless execution of a scam. And 13 million Singapore dollars, that's a good day in the office for the fraudster.
Yeah, yes.
That's a highly rewarding. I mean, and again, I think, and this takes us to the next point: is $13 million. The next question is, they need to move the money, and this is a conversation that I had with regulators and authorities in many countries in our discussion. This slide shows the money mule. So now we are starting to tap into conversation on what could be done to help. But in this scenario, we see that fraudsters have created over 70 accounts are controlled with only 30 devices. Now, in some instances, some of the fraudsters are being more careful. They're trying not to have too many accounts managed from one. But you can see clearly in the center here, there's someone that is not really even bothering hiding the fact that one device is controlling over 30 accounts in only one single devices. And the simple fact that someone can manage mule account, 30 of them from one device for a couple of days or week, sometimes months before a scam, in order to have some low level of transaction, trying to prepare so that the account looks like a legitimate account. And the institution are not monitoring the fact that there is multi-accounting on this account. This is such an easy way to disturb the incoming scam by stopping the mule account from being ready and available, because a lot of the time the fraudster, in order not to raise alarms at the last stage of the scam by trying to make an international payment, changing jurisdiction, they will often use accounts in the actual bank, meaning if they steal money from bank A, they are likely to have tried to have mule account within bank A to start moving the money within intra accounts, and then later on potentially either move to another bank or to another country through a succession of payment. But this is one of the examples as well of the type of activity which are part of the preparation. So again, we encourage the audience to start thinking of how we can maybe increase the detection of mule account. So Wayne, can you do us a summary of what the fraudsters are doing in order to prepare for this successful scam campaign? I think we need to call it that. It's an enterprise. Once again, we really need our audience to understand this is their job. That's what they do for a living. And then we will discuss the countermeasures.
Yes. So actually, to actually wrap this up, what actually makes a successful scam campaign? Sorry, what makes up a successful scam campaign? So of course, when you have a successful scam, you do not only rely on one method. You have multiple initiation methods to reach the same goal, because you reach out to you increase your reachability of your target audience. It's methodical. Facilitation is also required to maintain a seamless user experience. In this case, when the victims interact with your phishing infrastructure, you need to keep them clueless, in a sense where they do not realize that it is a scam. And then next, scalability. Scammers can also use bots and automation to facilitate successful scams in terms of scalability. Why? Because it's not productive to manually transfer victims' credentials from the phishing infrastructure to actually interact with the actual site. Why? Because while automation actually do help what we are doing right now, they also do help scammers to be more productive. So, bots and automations are always, or most of the time, almost always employed by a successful scam campaign. So, this can also severely decrease the unknown variables, the time and resources that are wasted by unsuccessful scams, and to also increase the percentage of a successful scam. Yeah. So, to wrap it up, scams campaign are scalable and their reach can be unimaginable. So this is something that we have to take note and be vigilant about. And of course, our systems need to have many layers of protections to act as a better deterrent to actually prevent successful scam campaigns from actually being carried out.
Absolutely, and I think the next stage is to show the audience the type of countermeasures they can put in place. But again, I think sometimes what we see often is we hear the message of, well, we have not invested yet because we have not been seeing a lot of fraud. We don't see yet the ROI. But the issue is once a failure has been identified, or a weakness have been identified in your defenses, what we see with our other solution like threat intelligence is we see them exchanging this information, selling this information on dark forum, on Telegram channels, when once a fraudster have done the scouting around your organization and compile a phishing scam that they believe will work, they will promote it. And by the time you react and try to implement countermeasures, as we've seen, you will not have time. If you wait until you are victim of a scam campaign, then there will be no ROI. $13 million of Singapore money, say 30 million Singapore dollar losses. It will take you years to then get to an ROI, because the cost of deploying countermeasures will be only a fraction of that money. So in terms of countermeasures, obviously here at Group IB we have the fraud hunting platform that do all this, but just for the audience, without the goal here is for you to see what you should be able to do. Of course, people are always welcome to contact us, but overall, can you explain what kind of capabilities the audience should have in their internal systems in order to help protect themselves against these scams?
Okay, so using scams again as just an example, so some of the functionality of anti-fraud system should be able to identify the devices that are interacting with the digital platform, and not only that, we have to actually discover the device's characteristics while they are interacting. Let's say if a malicious mobile app is actually installed on the mobile devices on the device that interacts with the mobile platform, we have to identify this kind of characteristics of the device, and on top of that, not only malicious mobile apps, emulator, or even a jailbroken devices, or even detection of remote access tools or shared screen like TeamViewer, have to also be able to be detected via your anti-fraud system, and on top of that, if a preventive proxy module can be installed along with the prevention layer, we can actually have protection against bad bots and bad traffic that is actually trying to get into your digital platform. So of course, last but not least, informative detections like active debugger, Google Play protection, and like if anybody install SMS forwarding apps, this has to be detected before any transactions can happen. So these functionalities can is not exhaustible, but these are some of the recommended functionalities that I will suggest that any of the internal fraud systems should have.
I see, because when we are looking at the malware that in this case was infected, I think often people underestimate the capabilities. So if we see here a typical Android banking malware will be able to steal SMS, steal contact. So, and we've seen it in your presentation when you explained that they intercept the SMS from the OTP. And I think what people don't always get is that they will even change the application that manages SMS, meaning that if they do it in a right way, you might not even be aware that you receive an SMS, because they have now managed to put their own kind of SMS management app onto the phone, if you want to simplify it, in order to hide from the user of the phone that there are actually SMS coming in, and all sort of disabling some protection that are supposed to be on the phone. We can see here a list of the sort of typical successful malware that will be used, and what kind of countermeasures this solution that you described before should be able to do that will help the customer see that the device has been potentially compromised.
All right, so some of the just for Android banking malware, and not limited to just Android banking malware, some of the anti-phishing capabilities that I will recommend is, of course, malware detection for malware. So when you can gather and analyze a list of installed applications onto on the device, and then we enrich it with machine learning and threat intelligence data, if we can actually detect a change in the default SMS app, this will greatly increase your protection status. So next, of course, is if moving one step higher, will be a device-based detection. Can we detect this device's ID? Can we actually identify some of the global identifiers that is tied to this device? Can we actually have an algorithm to detail the device fingerprint when the user is actually interacting with the digital platform? This will all fall under device-based detection. And last but not least, the behavioral-based detection, where you actually analyze the core ID, and detect whether there's any overlay screen detection or any fraudulent action patterns when the user is interacting with the digital platform. Of course, service accessibility, service exploitation is also considered under behavioral-based detection. So if you can actually detect all these kind of malicious actions or behavior or patterns, it will be a good measure of how capable your countermeasures are.
Yes, because we still see even organizations such as bank that do not really have user session monitoring. It might sound surprising for the audience that do, but we still see it, and sometimes even quite weak user session monitoring, which are not able to then compare previous experience of the users. So even if you have this in place, even if you compromise the token, the way the user interact with your website, the way they are moving their mouse or touching the screen of their mobile should be enough for you to see that although they had the digital token, this is not the same person that is interacting with the secured application, whether it's a web application or mobile application, than the last time. And so I think that what you are saying is all these elements will really able to protect the organization and the user in case one of the security layers compromised.
Yes, that's right.
And so we talked a lot about the phishing site and page detection. Is there something that can be done for that?
Okay, so for page detection, for phishing page detection, one way that our Group IB's fraud hunting platform can detect is actually detecting, sending alerts that are related to when a fraudster creates a phishing infrastructure. So in this case, maybe if a fraudster creates a phishing page, and the phishing page is actually linked to the actual FHP protected resource, what we can see here is that the user, from here we can see that the user navigated from a new page, from this very unknown website. And what will happen is the FHP will trigger alerts to say that, hey, we have a request from a non-registered domain. This will actually stand out a lot because we usually, in the requirement gathering stage, all registered domains will actually already be tied down. Non-registered domains are a no-no, So, and on top of that, we do have a user-based kind of alerts like, hey, why is something pasted from the clipboard to the login or the password field? This is highly suspicious. Yes.
I see. And one of the other statistic that we saw earlier in the call is really a lot of social engineering with, for example, remote access, and even we've seen in the region some impersonation of the staff of the company, pretending to be the support team, making a phone call to the customers. And I guess there again, if you have the right defenses, people should be able to detect those, right?
Yes. Yes. So some of the defense against social engineering can be, having like what you say, remote access software like TeamViewer detection. If we can detect this, this is added layer of protection for social engineering. Of course, active call detection is very, very important. Call ID checks against legitimate call centers. This can also be an added security layer. On top of all this, we can actually employ biometrics behavioral analysis like advanced digital biometrics behavior, or even bot malware and remote access tools detection. Last but not least, this list is really inexhaustible. Even if you want biometrics or more than that, is also possible. Yes.
So the solutions are here. It's really a case of making sure the agents are implementing those, and we understand that sometimes it's difficult and to make project, but what we found is at time we have been helping client with an audit of a current defenses, helping them with creating a internal, if you wish, project, define the project, so that then they can go to the market and make this requirement. So if anyone in the audience wants some help in order to create the internal project on why they should have these advanced tools, please reach out to us. We have teams of analysts that can help you not only understand where your risks are coming from, what you can do with the current tools that you have available, but also help you make an internal business case for the implementation of superior tools. And I think to that extent, for example, for the audience, there is a case study that were made with Forrester from independent measures when we really worked with them on a very large bank in Turkey, and they were having issues with some fraud scheme, and then we helped them obtain a great result by helping them building a plan on how to protect themselves and their customer better. And as you can see on this, 20% false positive reduction, 10 to 20% more fraud blocked, 30% less OTP needs, which are costly for the bank. But by reducing costs, improving your protection does not mean that you will increase your cost. Not just by the fact that we're reducing fraud, because we understand the separate budgets, but also by having the right solution, and don't mean that they need to be costly. There is definitely ways for you to protect yourself in an effective way. So I encourage the audience to use the QR code on the screen and to download this paper. It will greatly help you if you want to make any kind of internal project in order to see how you can reduce this exposure. With that, I haven't seen any question from the audience, but you have the chat function. If you would like to ask a few questions to the panelists, feel free to submit them. But if there is no question, we might soon end the webinar, and thank you for joining us today. I'll just wait a few seconds, see if we get any question from the audience. No, I don't see any question coming. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I would like to say thank you, Camo, for joining us today and sharing your expertise. Thank you, Wayne, for this and joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you to our audience for joining us. And we look forward to see you next quarter for the next fraud hunting platform, which again, we will show you the evolution of the statistic in the region and share with you some insight on the latest development. But thank you again for joining us today. Wishing you a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.